and welcome to Sports by Compian. My name, of course, is Stephen Compian, and I am joined here by my beautiful co-host, just looking absolutely translucent today, Mr. Dan Gill in the house. How are you, Dan?
I'm great, buddy. We had a busy weekend in sports, so can't wait to dive into it.
This feels like one of the first weekends where it's like you've been waiting for it all year. A couple of leaves start to fall off the trees, and you're like, is that football and rugby I smell? And then boom, it's here, baby! We are officially made it, guys. We got 16 weeks of football. We got World Cup rugby. We got CARFU Rugby. And, of course, college football, Dan. It's a very exciting time right now in sports, and we're going to be trying to cover all of it today. That's why you guys should make sure you like and subscribe so that you're informed about this kind of stuff when we're out here covering the sports on a regular basis. You know, you're not going to find You're not going to find big coverage like this all over YouTube. Let me tell you.
Hey, you forgot the other big news.
Oh,
we're now on Spotify.
I did forget that. Huge news. So all of you who follow us on YouTube should also get us on Spotify for when you're on the go and don't want to deal with the weird application that YouTube is sometimes. You can just go ahead and be on Spotify. It's a beautiful platform. And yeah, you can hear our gorgeous voices speaking through to you, much like a guide for life. Right, Dan?
Always.
Anyway, Dan, let's hop into this. Enough shenanigans. So, as you people can see, big upset to start the week off. So, Dan, I'm going to go ahead and preface before I get into how excited I am about this win and just how big this is for Rockford Ravens. I want to preface this by saying this was not the Blaze team that beat us last year. This was certainly not the Blaze team that beat us a couple of years ago at home. This is a Blaze team that may be headed for a very down year. They had some older players, some inexperienced players. I mean, they've always had older players, but a lot of inexperience spread out throughout that team.
I mean, you think some of them that you guys have generally been dealing with bumped up to that D2 team?
A little bit of that. They even brought some D2 guys, which we also were able to handle, as you can see by the score. So anyway, preface that just by saying that, I mean, obviously this Blaze team did come back in the second half, especially when some of their D2 guys got in. This is still a huge team, and man, this is a big, big win for the Rockford Ravens. We haven't beat the Blaze in 2 years, first of all. Second of all, you know, it's just, this is a team that finished third, I want to say last year, third or fourth, you know, and we finished sixth. So it's a big jump for us, huge home win to start the year off. The boys were all over the field on defense. You know, we just were absolutely shutting them out. Those two tries they did have were close ones that they scored from a couple meters out. You know, at some point they're going to get you. We did have, I'm going to hop into the other things later, but Jonah had a huge, huge game for us. Just absolutely ripped right through the heart of their defense for the second try. The first half, can't forget. And then he followed it up in the second half with another very long try. Just, he's an absolute stud. The kid runs with serious power. I think as he continues to play rugby, because he's only been playing for a year. This is probably going on maybe a year of rugby experience for him at this point. And he plays with heart. He runs through everything. He's going to be a really good player. As he continues to develop his skills, it's going to be scary, man. Caleb, of course. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I know we talk about it offline. You meet Taylor, talked to a couple of other guys. It's good to see that you guys are getting the bodies in, and you know you're really getting the depth in the team finally.
Man, and it's it couldn't have come at a better time because this is a year where the Ravens have faced some of the most injuries I've seen, and to our veterans. You know, we have lost obviously Taylor back in Scotland in November. Then we lose Jeremiah in our second game, which is our first home game, and we lose him early in the game. Will makes a try-saving tackle that same game and tears his pectoral or something or another, and he's out. So we've lost some key veterans of this club. Sydney is a veteran that's around every once in a while, but when he is, Dan, you've seen him on the rugby field. He's a force, and teams around the league know about him. He is going to be gone for most of this year. Thanks, Sydney. Off to go see some World Rugby, which we do have coverage of. Can't blame him too much there. But we're lacking a lot of veterans, Dan, but it's beautiful to see these guys, rookies and second-year guys that are just second, third year guys are just stepping up into these roles with no fear, and they don't know what they don't know. They're not afraid of these teams because they haven't been trounced into the ground by them 4 or 5 times or something in their career already. So they're just like, fuck it, this is just another rugby team. Let's do this. And I think the score showed that. Hopping into a couple negatives, man, there were so many penalties in this. I think something like 25 something scrums. This game was a little ugly on both sides. Both sides were dropping the ball a lot, but I felt the Ravens left a lot of points on the board just by, first game jitters, which I hope we can get out, Dan, because it doesn't get easier from here. But yeah,
the way some of these scores have been going, you might have your hands full.
100%. I don't think any of these games are going to be easy down the stretch. But this was a huge home win. Big game for Sven Kasper, who was on site to support the boys as he always is. Huge club member, always has been around. He's one of our guys who's going through some difficulties right now, and the Ravens have rallied around him as we do for our own. It's beautiful to see, and we were able to have a moment of silence out there. Yeah, this win was huge, and we would definitely dedicate it to Sven Kasper, who won honorary man of the match. We had to give it to Jonah. I mean, you don't rip through the heart of the defense for nothing. And hopping into some other names here real quick before we move on. Caleb, with his usual huge game, all over the place on defense, had the first try of the game, which he basically it was a high pass that I probably should have ran out there and grabbed it, but instead I let it pass by me. It hits the ground. Caleb picks it right off, throws the motherfucker off him, and then outruns the other two and just scores that 10-meter try. Absolute work of beauty to get us right on the board. We take the lead, and we never looked back from there, Dan. Kevin had a big game out of outside center. Both him and Jonah were just locking it down on defense, but he had a couple tears right through the heart of the defense as well. George had a beautiful try where he pretty much just outran people, stiff-barred people. It was ridiculous. One of those George tries where you're like, how is nobody tackling this guy? But okay, he's in the try zone. Sweet, we'll take it.
That's George.
It's just George being George. But all the boys showed up. All the boys played hard. This was some of the best defense I've seen the Ravens play. It's going to be a marker of this Rockford Ravens 23-24 squad. Let me tell you, Dan. Defense, baby. Wins championships. Hopping into some of these other games, Northwest Indiana travels down to Peoria and get their ass kicked. So we did hear... Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was just saying, you might be saying this, so I apologize if I cut you off.
I am.
Like, this seems like it was a tale of two halves.
100%.
Because apparently it was 14, from what I was reading online, it was 14-12 Peoria at halftime.
Yes.
That's a very competitive game.
That's a tight game. In Peoria, against their starters that first 40 minutes, so that's impressive.
And things just seem to go off the rails after.
Yeah, you can't let it get that off the rails. So, yeah, not to be disrespectful, but that's where I'm coming from. I mean, 50 dies. Anytime you're letting up 50 on the scoreboard, that's a tough day.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if they struggled with numbers out there.
That could have been it.
Like,
people get tired in the second half.
As better as anybody, everybody shows up for a home game. It's pulling teeth to get you to go to an away game.
Yeah.
So, we've been in those games where that limited number definitely catches up to you down the line. We weren't there, so we can't vouch to whether or not that was 100% the case. But Peoria is just always a team that's tough to play at home. And, they got a good squad, even though they were struggling to pull numbers to start the season. So I will admit, I'm impressed to that regard that they're putting something together for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think Northwest Indiana should be discounted by any means. I think the Blaze are going to have their hands full whenever they go to play them. Furthermore, we have the Woodsmen. I believe this was in Lake County. They fall to them 25-33. Big win for Lake County. These two teams are always neck and neck. If it's not one, it's the other that's ahead of them. Definitely a big rivalry game here. Huge win for Lake County. They continue their dominance.
Open the season 2-0. And their first win against Peoria is no sneeze either.
Nope.
So, typically, like we were saying, the Blaze Riot Woodsmen are kind of towards the top of the pack more times than not. Maybe might be getting a little changing of the guard here.
I think we might be seeing Lake County in the playoffs from the way they're playing right now. But big game coming up next week. Rockford Ravens travel to the Riot, who were on a bye week this past week. We'll see if some things are about to get shook up around here, Dan, huh?
Yeah, try to take the momentum against the Blaze. The Riot did play Northwest their first game at home. Took care of business there in a 40-14 win. And obviously, as we know, the Riot are always a good game to be a part of. So I think, like you said, work's cut out for them, but just come prepared.
It's going to be a good day. Anyway, moving on. We got some actual impressive rugby taking place. The World Cup is officially kicked off, Dan. Thank sweet baby Jesus for that. France, New Zealand kicks this off. Now, you may look at this score and be like, oh, quite an impressive blowout for France. Now, this was, like you said, a bit of a tale of two halves. Very tight first half. The second half starts off with France driving down the field. Turnover by New Zealand. They drive it back down and score off a long play. But other than that, Dan, they struggled to get possession in the second half and keep it and make any type of significant plays. France absolutely dominated time of possession in the second half, and the score reflects it.
Yeah, we expected them to be a tough get around in their pool play. Obviously, we also feel like New Zealand was going to be to the top given the rest of that pool. I think the good part is I don't think this puts New Zealand out of it, but it definitely puts them in a position they don't want to be in.
Tough way to start off. Shout out to Ramos, had a huge game day kicking the ball. Dupont was absolute murdering them as far as field position. Anyway, I'm sure lots of people will discuss that one detailedly. Italy goes ahead and puts it on Libya. This game was semi-close coming into the second half. I think it was about 27-9 or 8 or something like that. You could tell the depth really showed up. Italy's bench came on strong. They looked really good, whereas Libya's bench, not so much. Some of those guys came on, dude. They literally look like people we might see in CARFU. But anyway, these guys kind of got smoked in that second half by Italy. Italy really, that back line is fun to watch when they get going. Fabrizio with a huge fucking game. Had two tries himself, I think, and set up another one. He was just all over the place. There was this big Italy backliner that came in the second half, and man, he just ran through the heart of that Libya defense at one point. But Libya is all about passion and showing national pride, and I do think they played some hard defense throughout the game, and you could tell their veteran players weren't giving up at any point.
For sure. No, I mean, it's when we kind of get the disparity in the pools. This is one of them.
Yeah.
Even though, Italy's still a good team for as much grief as we give them.
Yeah.
But they're going to still have their work cut out for them to get out of pool play, though, because we do have a slightly tough pool to get out of because they do have France and New Zealand. So big win to start in the right direction.
Yeah.
Have a shot, but I mean, they did now. I will admit they did get their bonus point. France did not. They are leading Pool A right now.
There you go.
That's a key extra point right now, given the way things could shake out down the line. But
absolutely,
I think we all saw Italy was going to walk out of that one winning.
For sure. I think everyone saw this following result. I always wonder though, man, like how do you give up 82 points? Like you're a national rugby player. Like
I mean,
that means that nobody's making a tackle. That means that every single time Ireland has the ball and throws it out to the back line, somebody misses a tackle and they go and score off that.
Yeah, because it was 33 at half, and then it just kept compounding from there.
And Squish Rugby talks about this. Rugby is very much a momentum, spirited game. And when you get down big, it's hard to stay focused. It's hard to keep fighting, especially if you're tired. And these guys are just kicking your ass. I've been in those games. It is fucking rough. But, dude, you're a national rugby player. I'm giving Romania too much shit here. This is the number one team in the whole tournament. And Romania is struggling to be a power in the second tier nations. But, damn, dude.
Yeah, I think Romania was ranked 19th.
Yeah.
In the thing. Yeah, so, I mean, we, again, much like the Italy game, we saw this one coming.
Saw this one coming. I think some people saw this one coming too. Australia 35 over Georgia 15. So fight out of the Georgians, but not quite there, not quite ready for these big teams, it looks like. Well, off the first gate at least.
No, yeah, I mean, Australia was going to definitely be a tough challenge for them.
For sure.
But we feel like Georgia's been moving in the right direction the last couple of years. So this is definitely a good test for them. And I think it's, it's still potentially feasible that they can make it out of Pool C, given who else is in it. I mean, they're going to have tough matchups with Wales, I believe. So I don't think they're completely out of it with this loss. I get that it's the first game, but certain pools we know if you lose one game, you're in trouble. Some that's not the case, but
yeah,
good life. Compared to most of the scores that we've seen so far,
yeah,
they kept it a competitive game, and they definitely have stuff to build on.
And that's the thing is that they at least kept this competitive. They definitely stayed in the pocket. Wasn't quite the blowout you see. This is a Georgia team that's been working hard for years to move up in the World Cup. So I'm just hoping they can snatch up a couple wins on their in this World Cup and make a good presence for themselves. I was watching a training video of theirs, and so one of the props I believe was talking about the Portugal game because they know Portugal is really going to be going after them. Portugal's like, this is probably our only chance to win a World Cup game is against Georgia. So they're like, we know they're going to be targeting us, and we're definitely not taking that game lightly. Portugal's been really advancing over the last couple of years, whereas the USA took a couple steps back and just hasn't been getting better. Portugal's been taking that mantle, so we're not surprised to see them in the World Cup. And I was just like, I mean, you're right, but goddamn, that hurts to hear. It's like, dude, what are we doing? It's like, how's Portugal be better than us and advancing and stuff? And even Georgia, I don't know much about that country, dude, but are you telling me that, we can't build a decent... I was looking at their facilities. It was really nice. They had a nice strength and training program. They're bringing in experts.
Let's be real. I think Georgia will probably take care of the U.S. because...
Oh, they did. They handled them in summer rugby.
Well, yeah, true. We've been on the train of Georgia should probably play in a relegation with Italy and Six Nations, so... There's no way the U.S. will ever be able to touch them for a while.
They need to figure their lives out. Anyway, England goes ahead and takes care of business against Argentina. Maybe a game that some people were not surprised by, but a lot of people, including ourselves, were talking a little bit of shit about England coming into this. So probably a good win for them to kind of quiet the doubters a little bit.
No, for sure. I know we've been extremely hard on England in terms of coming into play. But, Argentina generally does field a pretty solid squad more times than not.
For sure.
Not saying this was a bad game by any means, but I believe England did get a red card, so curious how that's going to affect them the next couple games. I believe it was from a high tackle, so that's going to be a tough one to deal with.
Yeah.
I can't remember who got it. I'm trying to load it, but it won't load for me. But England needed this win to start because we've been very much on. They haven't been on the right foot in the summer league. They haven't looked, let's be honest, they haven't looked great in the summer leagues, but they have a not overly competitive pool. Not trying to be rude to Japan, Chile, Samoa, but they probably have one of the more least competitive pools.
And they just beat probably their biggest rival in that pool.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to it. Japan next one. So really, I think if they can take, they took care of Argentina. They can take Japan down, then they're probably in a decent spot at that point.
100%. Getting to that game right now. So Japan goes ahead and takes it to Chile. Beat them up a bit, but these Chileans hung in the game. I believe the coach from Japan says after that they were tackling like demons all throughout the day. You could see the Chile heart, man. They were playing their little hearts out. Rodrigo Fernandez was a pretty big game. I had him in fantasy. He did well. But ultimately they do fall to a frisky Japan team, who much like with England, we've been talking a little bit of shit about, and they showed up big for this game. They really put it on Chile and let them know, hey, no, we're a tier 1 nation. This is what it looks like.
Well, I think with how they played last World Cup, there was a lot of expectations coming into this World Cup.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in my opinion, I think they surprised a lot of people last World Cup.
100%.
So it's kind of like, what was their follow up going to be?
Yeah.
And summer play was pretty decent for them. They did get some losses that I think we were a little surprised on, but that's bound to happen here and there. So, good to see that they got off on the right footing against Chile. Like we said, them and England and Argentina are probably going to be the three to shake it out for the two spots that will move on. So, they got the bonus point in this match. England did not. Again, another key difference there.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be interesting to see between the three of them, and whoever plays each other first will probably get a really good idea of, let's say Japan and Argentina play next. Argentina loses that one. We might be looking at who's moving out of that pool then.
Yeah. No, big game for Japan England next week, so that should be interesting. Scotland could not find the try zone versus South Africa. This game was 6-3 going into halftime. Scotland with a late penalty try at half. Oh man, but they could just not get it together. And then Kobe, that little fast wing over there for South Africa, just gets loose a couple times, and it was too much for them. A couple kicks too that were perfectly placed, and just the speed of South Africa was a bit much for Scotland, and they could not get past the defensive wall.
Yeah, it's hard to go against South Africa.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest here.
Defending champs.
Defending champs. We all knew that they were going to have their hands full there. Pool B is, I think, arguably the most competitive pool, having Ireland, South Africa, and Scotland in it.
Yeah.
So there's going to be no easy task in this group. Am I shocked that Scotland didn't find the try zone? Absolutely. They've looked pretty solid all summer league, I think, for the most part. So, didn't exactly see this part coming, but defending champs get off where they left off, and their march towards the repeat's on.
Strong opening for the defending champions. This game was wild to close out World Cup action. Wales wins over Fiji. But, dude, this game was crazy. So Fiji just has a furious comeback in the second half. Like, they were down, 3 or 4 tries. And, they get that first try, you could just see them, quickly, kicking that ball and running back to receive the kickoff. They were ready for this comeback. And, man, it came down to that last play. They literally throw it out to their best player, and the dude drops it. I think he knocked it on. And, if he catches that, he was probably going to score. That wing, that Wales defense it was going to be tight, but I'm pretty sure he was going to score that, and they would have won. This was so tight.
Yeah, no, I think, it definitely looks like to some degree there was a little bit of back and forth, but also, as you said, catch up. I personally was a little surprised. I know we've seen some good play out of Fiji in summer leagues, but truthfully, I didn't know what to expect out of them.
Yeah.
Given that, I know, although I do know that Wales struggled over the last 2-3 years themselves. So, always down for an entertaining game. And, Fiji put themselves in a spot to still be in it, even though they lost. They got 2 points out of it. So I think, they're not in a bad spot right now.
Not at all. Not at all. Strong showing against Wales for sure. Well, that about wraps up our World Cup coverage here of rugby. Before we move on, Dan, did you have any non-sponsor sponsor for us today?
Non-sponsor.
Yeah.
I've been watching a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Polar Opposites is back on. The creators from Rick and Morty.
Seen it. Yep.
It's on Hulu. It's hysterical. Almost done the new season. If you've never watched it, watch it.
Proud non-sponsor sponsor of Sports by Compian. Solar Opposites. Damn right. Moving into college football, man. This is on full swing, as they say.
Now, I think
we covered some of this, right? Because this was the first
this
week.
isn't.
Oh, yeah, this is not.
Week 2.
Yeah, this is week 2. Okay.
No. So I think that we need to start with the big game that happened, and was the major upset of the day.
Yeah, let's hop right to that. That's a good idea.
Texas beat Alabama. Texas beat Alabama 34-24. They said it was the first double-digit loss at home for Nick Saban since he lost to Florida when he was coaching LSU in 2003. It was like 2,700 days since he had lost double-digit at home.
Uh-oh. Damn,
So
these Longhorns look frisky, man. They had a good running back. Their quarterback looked composed.
I mean, there was definitely a lot of back and forth in it. That's for sure. Texas got out early, but then Alabama does what Alabama does. They, stay calm, stay composed, came back, took a 3-point lead heading into the end of the third quarter. And then really the fourth quarter was all Texas.
Yeah.
Outscoring them in the fourth quarter 21-8. Texas has been the butt of a lot of jokes. They pull in a lot of these big recruits. They got Archie Manning, who did not play, but they have all this talent and nothing seems to happen. They're moving to the SEC, I believe, next year. It's official. They're not there yet. This should be their last season in the Big 12. So they've been putting these SEC games into their schedule to get ready for it. And, if this isn't a statement win, I don't know what is.
Huge.
And, we could be seeing this matchup every year now.
What do we think about Alabama's quarterback? He looked a little frazzled throughout the day. I mean, obviously he came back with a couple of nice bombs. But is he Nick Saban's guy going forward, do you think?
I think for now they will, especially next week they play USF. They should be able to take care of business against them. But, I think kind of evaluate, see what happens, and go from there. One game I don't think necessarily dethrones you. So
yeah, true that. So yeah, interesting shenanigans.
But the problem with the college football playoffs is you kind of lose one game, and then you got to hope that everybody else in front of you loses the game too to get yourself back in.
Which the last couple of years it's been frisky, man. People have been losing right and left, so I wouldn't count out anything.
No, not at all.
So Michigan takes care of business. Georgia takes care of business against Ball State. Florida State still looking good. 66 points on the board against Southern Miss. Ohio State finds 35 points there against Youngstown State. Southern California. Absolute blowouts here in the top 6, all right? What do you guys want from me? Just absolute blowouts inside this Alabama game. And even Penn State, Washington, all these guys are just taking it to their friends.
I mean, the problem is, the first 2 weeks are always these horrible non-conference matchups, more times than not. So they're kind of like the easy win warm-up games.
Okay.
So that's why some of them you see they're just like, why would Penn State be playing Delaware? Delaware's in the same conference I went to high school.
Yeah.
Sorry, you went to college, so it's like, come on, man. Like they paid Delaware, God knows what, to play that game. Now, Colorado did keep on winning. They're 2-0 now. Knocked off Nebraska, so I think that was a big healthy win. It's an old Big 12 rivalry, but it was really kind of the tale of two halves, though, for them. They went into halftime up 13-0. They won 36-14, but it was just very slow in the first half.
It sure was.
They didn't even get on the board till the second quarter, and I mean that was with 2 field goals and a touchdown. So there was a lot of feeling out for a while. Nothing wrong with that by any means, but still a good statement win against a relatively competitive Nebraska more times than not.
Yeah.
And first home game for Dion since he's taken over. The crowd was electric. It was a packed house. Things looked good, and they played well.
Yeah, and Sanders Jr. looks like he got comfortable in that second half. 393 yards again. These are big numbers he's putting up. It's going to be hard for people to continue to ignore the kid. But yeah, definitely a tale of two takes. I think if Nebraska has a slightly better quarterback, Sims just looks so uncomfortable throughout the whole day. And to be fair, he was getting tons of pressure. But if they have a slightly better
Yeah, I think
quarterback, this would have been a very close game, I think.
I believe Sims got injured in that game. I had it on in my box office while I was working, but I was in and out because we had a concert that night. When I came back, Harburg was in the game, so I didn't have a chance to see exactly what happened to him, but um, yeah, it was they were just getting to him all day. It's kind of tough to get anything rolling if you have constant pressure in your face.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, that's Nebraska, Colorado. As we mentioned, Deion Sanders off to a very hot start. Ole Miss takes it to Tulane. Tulane in top 24, 25 for a while.
I mean,
Good for them.
so I actually got to watch a better chunk of that game, and that was actually a great game, really through the first three quarters, because Ole Miss was only up seven, or no, they were tied heading into to the end of the third quarter, and fourth quarter just kind of got away from Tulane, getting outscored 20-3 in the fourth quarter. So I was really impressed by Tulane for what they were putting up, putting great pressure, a couple key interceptions, but their quarterback, there was just a little bit of misconnection sometimes, and they kind of had some costly plays that could have definitely pulled the game in for them, but they weren't able to capitalize on the situations they needed to at the very end.
Well, yeah, good for Tulane. They're starting to come up in the world. Starting to put out a couple of draft prospects. Hopefully, they continue to do so. Washington State with
Yeah,
a huge upset over Wisconsin. This was tough for Badger fans to see, but huge win for them. I think that Washington State coach is like 3-0 against Washington, so they must hate that guy at this point.
it's funny. And then yeah, like another good one. Was Miami knocked off Texas A&M. I was watching a handful of that game at the end because I was flipping between that and the Ole Miss Tulane game.
Oh yeah,
Miami won 48-33,
handily.
despite Texas A&M being a 3-point favorite. And yeah, I mean they were, aside from the,
5 touchdowns for Mr. Van Dyke.
I mean, the first half was pretty back and forth, but in the second half they really took control of it and just put the pace on them. Defense looked strong in the second half. They just weren't allowing the running game to get anywhere, and they really locked them down.
Yeah, well, strong win for Miami. That's huge. It looks like there's actually quite a few wins here because Appalachian State takes North Carolina all the way to double OT against number 17. So that's a
Yeah,
crazy game right there too.
well, I mean they played each other in App State last year, and that one went down to like the final play too. So like this, I wouldn't mind them extending whatever agreement between the two of them they have, because the last few years they've had two great matchups
Yeah.
that I would be behind seeing more often.
Appalachian State is also one of those fun schools that they're kind of dangerous. They're winning any of the smaller schools, so they get a chance against the big boys, and every once in a while they're scary, huh?
Hey, that Michigan game, what was it, 2007? At the Big House, they knocked them off, so that's what put them on the radar of everybody.
Well, they've been frisky since. Oregon barely gets over Texas Tech, 38-30. Strong performance out of Texas Tech against a really good Oregon team. LSU absolutely puts it on gambling. They needed a nice little comeback after their loss to Florida State. Yeah. Do you see any other games you might want to comment on, Dan, or are we wrapping this up?
No, that's all I got for this week.
Fair enough. Iowa barely over Iowa State, 20-30. They're not even ranked this year, Iowa. That's interesting. Oh, and of course,
by the end of the year.
And of course, my boys, Dan, Michigan State, taking care of business against Richmond. Oh no, NIU fell. Damn. Sorry, NIU. Tough
That's
time.
unfortunate.
It looks like they were struggling for some defense. Offense. And of course, the Thunder and Herd taking care of business as well. Good for them. Anyway, yeah, we'll wrap this up as far as college football. Continue to support the boys and sports in general. So as you can see, guys, we got a game going on right now. We're recording this during Monday Night Football. Is this like froze up? It seems like this should have been a little further in at this point. Yeah, here we go. Second quarter. That makes more sense. Second quarter, 3-3 at this point.
I know they were having weather problems up there, so I don't know if that delayed the start of the game or not.
Oh, okay. I could check out.
Because at some point,
Let's see if Aaron Rodgers is
prior
back
to the
in.
game, they were on a shelter in place.
Let's see if Aaron Rodgers is back. Oh yeah, they got Zach Wilson in there, so Aaron Rodgers is injured. Ooh.
Hold on, I just pulled it back up, but Bill's out of the ball.
I'm so glad that I picked the Bills for our pick'em. I really almost went to the Jets today.
No, I picked the Bills myself.
Holy cow, does Breece Hall already have 100 yards? Why? Why? No, why? I'm playing against him in a league. That's not good. Yeah, he already has 109 yards. Stop it, Breece Hall. What a jerk. All right, anyway. So that's what's going on with that game. But let's hop into the biggest upset of the week, I think. Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions even, they fall. Opening day in Arrowhead Stadium to the Detroit Lions. Dan, what do you got to say about Motor City Dan Campbell, man? He's got his guys believing, man, that there's just nobody that can stand with them, man. All right, when we have each other's backs, man, there's nobody here who can compete with us, man.
Got to watch out for your kneecaps, man. Look, we knew that they were going to be competitive this year the way they ended last year. I know that we collectively felt like they were going to probably lose, but the Chiefs were only 4-point favorites. It was never thought to be a blowout, but their defense did what their defense did last year. They showed up in the big moments, and Dan Campbell took the risks they needed to win. Early in the game, they went for that fourth down inside their basically 20 or just outside their 20, and that's a risky move given that you're going to give the Chiefs the ball with 25 yards to go.
And they just went for it. It was crazy. They were just balls out, dude.
But they paid off for them, and I think they're going to be a team to watch this year. I think we already knew that to begin with, but they just proved it again. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with the Chiefs. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
But the Lions just put the rest of the league on notice.
Dude, this was crazy because the Lions won this game on a day where their offense was not quite clicking. They could not seem to get stuff going on third down. They struggled all day on third down. So they were able to win a game where they had to ask their defense to hold arguably the best quarterback, the best quarterback in the league. I don't think too many people are arguing at this point. And they held him to 20 points all day. Granted, he didn't have Travis Kelce, and he asked a certain receiver, Tooney, to step up. And I don't know. I may have had my doubts about Tooney in the past. And let's just say that the doubts are still there, Dan, after this last
game. He had bricks for hands, man. Bricks for hands.
All right, to be fair, I'm sure the guy just felt the pressure or whatever of opening day jitters and such. He's probably going to be fine.
But you heard what Mahomes said after the game, right?
He's just going to keep going back to him. I mean, obviously, you have to.
Yeah, he said he's going to keep going back to him in big situations.
Who else is he going to throw it to? Of course he has to. So, yeah, and of course he has to say that, too. But, hey, Sky Moore was nowhere to be found either. So, all these, Chiefs receivers we've been hearing about, they're going to take the next step. All right, well, they're going to need to step up now because we'll see how long Kelsey's out for. Oh, yeah, and one more thing. I thought it was hilarious that on a huge pass to Tooney that he finally catches it, or maybe it was Sky Moore finally catches it. They get into field goal range. It's oh, shit, are the Chiefs going to come back? Nope, call back for a holding call of Donovan Smith. I'm like, dude, I didn't even know Donovan Smith was over there. And the reason this is so funny, Dad, all right, I do love Donovan Smith. He played many years of service for the Buccaneers. But holy shit, can that guy get a holding call? All the time. He's always getting holding calls on crucial moments, and it's just hilarious to see him over there with a new team doing Donovan Smith shit. But, man, he was holding Hutchinson all night, apparently. There was, all these memes coming up of, Hutchinson just getting, held all night long.
Yeah.
Quite amusing.
Well, Well, and then, crud, what's his name? Number 74, the lineman for the Chiefs.
The Taylor Lewan, or no, not Taylor Lewan. Taylor
No,
something.
he's not on anybody's team right now. But I was watching the game with my brother, and Dewan Taylor,
Yeah, okay.
and we were blown. And now when I look online after, he should have been flagged for a false start every play because the dude was sitting there pumping his leg as an offensive lineman.
You're not supposed to move.
So like, no, he would come set and he would sit there and kind of rock or pump his leg while Mahomes is going through cadence or whatever. Like he's moving the entire time, and not once did he get called for a false start.
That's hilarious.
I mean, it's still not the funniest one that I saw all weekend, but still, like, if I'm whoever the Chiefs are playing next week, I'm that coach. I'm like, hey, I'm calling the rest of the association and be like, Doug Peterson, they're playing the Jaguars. That's who they're playing. I'd be calling the rest of the association and be like, you need to watch him this week. Like,
Yeah.
because if he does 2 weeks of that, I'm mystified.
Dude, but either way, that's some suspect tackles right there blocking for our boy Mahomes right now. We'll see how that turns out. Moving on to some other games here. We had Atlanta go ahead and take care of business against Carolina. Not too surprising. I mean, we got Bryce Young in there with his first NFL start. Let's see how the lad did. I was going to say not too bad, but then he had 2 interceptions. I mean, still not terrible for a rookie. It looks like he had to throw the ball way too much, too, 38 attempts.
Would you hear that Hayden Hurst launched his first career ball into the stands?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he threw the touchdown into the stands, but apparently the Falcons fans threw it back to him, so they got it back.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Once he realized what he did, he's like, oh no.
That's hilarious. Well, yeah, so anyway, not too surprising here. Falcons take care of business. Desmond Ridder didn't do too much of anything. They don't really trust this kid. They're like, can you just not really throw it? Look at this, Tyler Aguilar. Everyone's over here discounting the kid. 2 touchdowns, 75 yards. Huge day for him. Man, I should have started him. I have him on my bench in our deep Ravens league. But I did draft him with my last pick. That's how deep in the league in the draft we were. People didn't believe in him. I got him on my bench. Take that. We're gonna win the league this year, Dan. Get excited. Straw hats are coming back. Moving on to the next game. We got a little bit of internet connection problems here. I do apologize, people. I don't think anyone was too confused about this one. Ravens go ahead and win against Texas. Texas, did they even find the end zone? Doesn't look like it.
No, well, and I mean, so the thing that kind of came out of this game was J.K. Dobbins got injured, and it's believed that he tore his Achilles, so he would be out for the season. So, and I mean, he just came back from an injury.
I know. Is that it for this kid, you think?
I mean, that's 2 big injuries back-to-back years. It cost him a lot of playing time, so I don't want to say I don't see how he comes back, but that's tough to overcome.
That's really tough to overcome. That sucks to hear.
Now, there is another interesting thing out of this game. If you go back up to the score.
Yeah. 25-9.
Yeah, that's scoregami. That has never been a score in an NFL game before.
Wow. Well, 25 is a pretty unique number.
Yeah, so there's a whole page dedicated to NFL scores. Anytime there's a scoregami, they pointed out, I think they said it was the 147th unique NFL score in the history of the NFL.
Sweet. Well, hey, shout out to the Texas defense. It looks like they held the Ravens out of the end zone most of the day. They gave up a couple, but it seemed like they were playing some good defense. And, man, the Ravens, like Lamar Jackson, they're just saying he's going to pass the ball more this year. 169, 1 interception, no touchdown passes. C.J. Stroud was more impressive. I mean, C.J. Stroud with 242, no interceptions. I mean, it's like, when are we going to see it, Lamar?
Yeah, we'll give it time.
Give it time. You're right. I'm being harsh. But anyway, moving on. Texas, not too surprising here. But, hey, not bad at C.J. Stroud against a harsh Baltimore defense,
No, not at all.
Yeah, we're all screwed up here. All right, here we go. Now, this game was quite surprising. I kind of had a feeling, and I wish I would have gone with it. What the heck is
dude,
going on here?
what did I say
You did
during
say it.
kickoffs?
You did say it.
And I didn't convince myself to pick the Browns either.
I know.
I thought Joe Burrow was going to break it. I didn't think that it was going to be this bad. But, I mean, also, I feel like there's this horrible notion, though, of, oh, it's the Browns. You know what I mean? And say what you will about Deshaun Watson as a person, not getting into that mess.
Nope.
Just him as a player.
Yeah.
When he is healthy, when he is on, like, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league.
100%.
And this is like his first full year with Cleveland. So there's an expectation that, like, he's had the time to go over the playbook, to work with his team, to build these connections, because he does have weapons. You know, he has Amari Cooper. You know, and then they got Zadarius on defense. Like, they invested in this team to make them competitive. So to some degree, I don't think this should be as big of a shock to some people.
Yeah.
As it was. I get the shock factor because it is the Bengals, but you know, when Watts got traded to the Browns, there was a lot of rumblings of, oh, is it going to be the mix of Lamar, Watson, and Burrow division because of what the three of them can do?
Yeah.
And I think we're about to see that.
Yeah, I mean, well, this was crazy for the Bengals, I think, just because of the stat line from Joe Burrow. 82 yards. That's it. Like, what was going on, man? That defense was all over them. Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the game, but, like, regardless, like, it's kind of – that seems like more of a protection factor than anything.
Probably. Well, especially because he's coming off an injury, so.
Exactly. No, they knew this game was out of reach, but, man, what was going on? It looks like 3-and-outs all day long. Well, anyway, we'll let the more informed fans go ahead and speculate about that one. Big start for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They handled business against the Indianapolis Colts. Trevor Lawrence, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception on the day. Anthony Richardson, not bad. 1 interception, 1 touchdown, 223 yards.
He did get injured at the end of the game, though.
Oh, did he? Jeez, dude.
Yeah, he took a shot down in the red zone. I haven't seen what they're going to call it yet. At first, I thought he just got the wind knocked out of him, but maybe it was a little more than that. Because it was he stepped through the pocket and ran, which I don't blame him. There's a hole. The defender just closed it on the back end. So, you know, it's one of those, when you run, you put yourself out there.
He had a good day, man. I mean, he had 40 yards rushing, too, and a touchdown. So, like, he was their best rusher by far, too. Who's this? Mr. Jackson with 13 carries, 14 yards. Deion Jackson. What the hell, dude?
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's rough. That's a rough day at the office for Mr. Jackson.
But hey, it happens sometimes, man.
Oh, it sure does. Anyway, good win for Jacksonville. Moving on to a really, really beautiful win that many people didn't see coming, except for your boy here, who picked the lone wolf pick on Pick'em. You guys can go back and watch it. Stephen Compian picks the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win on the road, U.S. Bank Stadium. We take it to the Minnesota Vikings. Frankly, I know Bucs fans are getting super excited about Baker Mayfield. He was good in this game, and he carried it because, man, we couldn't get anything going on the ground. Thanks a lot, White. Absolutely nothing on the ground. So this was all on Baker Mayfield for the offense. He did make some key throws, did make some key conversions when he needed to, got us into field goal range at the end of the game. So, yeah, I can't take too much away from the guy. You know, he protected the ball, too, no interceptions. But, man, this was the defense that won us this game. Holy cow, they just absolutely – I mean, you're not going to shut down Jefferson, right? I mean, it's Jefferson. But other than him, they did nothing. Like, we pretty much controlled everything else as far as the offense goes, made Kirk Cousins look uncomfortable all day long, great pressure. And one more thing, Antoine Winfield, with his sack on Sunday, has now set a franchise record for sacks as a safety, which is crazy because the kid's still young in his rookie contract. So, like,
Yeah.
let that sink in. Good times.
I mean, they got 3 turnovers that game. That's going to kill anybody's drive. So, and as long as you're getting points off the turnovers, even better. But yeah, 2 lost fumbles and an interception. Going to make it hard to come back after that. Obviously, 3-point game, definitely tight, but who knows? Minnesota doesn't turn the ball over 3 times. Who knows where things go?
For sure. For sure. Well, Mike Evans for the beautiful catch down the middle to get a touchdown, put the Bucks up at one point. Just typical Mike Evans stuff, and a lot of doubters out there on my boy Mike this year, so it's nice to see him out there doing his thing. Bucks, you need to pay him. Don't be silly about this. Moving on. Tennessee Titans came ever so close to upsetting the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr with his first stunt out there with the boys. Maybe it looked a little uncomfortable. I mean, not too bad. 300 yards passing.
305.
Yeah, it's
1-1.
It's a good day.
I think the game was a little closer than I expected. I mean, the Saints line was like by 3, but both sides look pretty good. All in all, obviously, as we love to say from our USFL, XFL videos, you can't win on field goals, and that's what
the Titans tried to do.
The Titans did. Yeah, I mean, all they did was kick 5 field goals all day. But I think, and we had talked about this prior. Much like, I'm not saying the Saints are going to be like the Broncos last year, but that being said, the Saints have the situation much like the Broncos, where they have the good defense to keep you in a game as long as the offense can get it together. I don't think Derek Carr's a bad quarterback. I don't think he's at the top of the league, but he has a strong defense that can probably keep him in the majority of the games.
Yeah.
And as long as they protect the ball and they can get Williams going. I mean, he had 45 yards on 45 yards on him.
18
on 18
rough
carries.
Rough day at the office for Williams as well.
Yeah, they couldn't really get him going. But I think if they can kind of implement him a little better, get that going, it'll open up the passing game for him, do a little RPOs.
And then, if they can just survive these couple weeks, you get Alvin Kamara back, and that's going to be extra scary.
Right. So, I think if they can, like you said, if they can hold on for the next couple weeks to get him back and then just take advantage of what their defense can offer, they could be in a decent spot coming the end of the season. They have a shot at the wild card.
Big Chris Olave as well, 112 yards. He's looking scary. I hate to see it. Anyway, moving on. San Francisco 49ers absolutely take it to the Steelers. I know I see what you were meaning before when we were talking about this game. I mean, obviously no one was expecting the Steelers to win this, but this was quite the blowout, Dan. 2 interceptions out of your boy Pickett today, or that day.
Frankie himself picked the 49ers to win this one.
For sure.
I don't think it's going to be that bad by any means. Because the Steelers did look pretty decent last year. Especially down the stretch, they were winning some big games. And I thought they did a good job to get some pieces in this offseason through the draft, through free agency and trades. So, obviously with the 49ers losing in the NFC Championship game last year, that's a big team to take on week 1. But given, Purdy's coming off the injury, nobody really knew what he was going to be able to do, if he was going to be able to make it through the game. But they couldn't stop McCaffrey. He had 152 on the ground.
Let's go,
and
baby.
Then, and Brandon Ayuke had 129 through the air. So
2 touchdowns, jeez.
They just set them up and they ran. The Frankie alert is now on, and we will keep everybody updated later.
Absolutely. So moving on, we had the Commanders go ahead and handle business against the Arizona Cardinals, but this was probably a lot closer than I was expecting. Especially with Joshua Dobbs starting for the Cardinals.
I mean, I'm not expecting anything out of the Cardinals this year. Just being honest, it was very much a back and forth game through the whole game. That being said, there's a funny video which I'm impressed. Sam Howell took a shot on the sideline. It was a late hit. He was well out of bounds. He got leveled. The ref got leveled, stuff like that. And the ref literally like Undertaker sits up. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Waist up, and he just pulls the flag out and checks it for the penalty. Like it's like he didn't just get wrecked. Like he didn't care. Some old dude he's like, screw you. Here's the flag.
Yeah. Nice.
But for people, I have like I said, I have a friend that works there. He told me that his ticket sales picked up as soon as the sale got announced. And then just the overall general vibe of a lot of people that I know that are Commander fans. There was a lot of positivity and good feelings. There was a new era for them. Great way for them to kick off the new ownership with a big win. And who knows where it's going to go? I mean, they almost made the NFC wildcard last year, so it's not a bold prediction to think that they could do it again.
We'll see. We'll see. Arizona's still looking for answers over there. Apparently, their coach gave a very inspiring speech during training camp. Green Bay Packers absolutely handle business against the Chicago Bears. People are starting to question if this is a real rivalry. What do you think, Dan?
No, I mean, I think, same old, same old. It's Packers, Bears. The amount of transfer of ownerships from Rodgers to Love that I got is hysterical. But, I mean, this one started off very slow. It was only 10-6 at halftime. So it was very much a competitive game. In the second half, Green Bay put it on with 28 points in the second half. And their defense showed up. I think, like we've said about a couple of other teams, I don't think it's as drastic, but defense. Any comment about this during the game? The Packers' defense have the elder statesman of the team, so they have a strong defense. They have that good core group back there that will get the turnovers, make the big stops. I mean, they opened the game with a huge stuff on 4th and inches that the Bears went for, to open the game. And that kind of set the tone there that it was going to be one of those games.
Yeah.
Because immediately when Green Bay got the ball, they had a 4th and to go situation themselves and converted. So, it's the good old backdoor brawl or backyard brawl. I think Love looked composed. He didn't look too flustered very often. He fumbled. I think there was miscommunication in the backfield that I think it was supposed to be a handoff, and him and the running back fumbled it, and he picked it up and just stuck it to a wide open tight end. And they got down to the 5-yard line. If the guy could stay on his feet, he'd have had a walk-in touchdown, but he kind of caught it up over his head and fell down, and they caught up to him. But I think it was a good start this season. Always good to beat the Bears. Same Bears, different week, right?
Nice. Big win for the boys. And we were moving over to Las Vegas. Go ahead and beat Denver Broncos. This messed up a lot of people's picks, I imagine. It certainly did for mine. I will no longer trust the Denver Broncos. It's good to know that they will continue their terrible ways. Although Russell Wilson is doing okay, I guess. 2 touchdowns, 177.
Him and Jimmy G had pretty similar stat lines. Jimmy G threw for 200 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So,
pretty parallel. The simulation didn't try too hard with this one. They're like, this is pretty much the stat lines we're going to do. You guys both get like 200, 2 touchdowns each. Like, come on, simulation. You got to try a little harder.
I think this one and the Chargers Dolphins one, we were all kind of a toss of a coin thing there.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, we all landed on the wrong coin apparently.
Yeah, we all did. I like the move to get Jimmy G. I think he's a good quarterback, especially having Josh McDaniels, who he worked with in New England all that time, so he knows what to do with Jimmy G and make him, dangerous. So he has the keys there with Jacobs, with Devontae. And I mean, Myers had a pretty decent game at 81 yards catching, but I think it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But again, the Denver defense, all in all, neither defense been all that bad. It's a close
No.
game. It's relatively low scoring. But is it going to be another year of Denver holding people to lowest points, but they can't put up that many themselves? I don't know.
We'll see what happens. Tough warm-up game for Denver. We move on to, as you mentioned, Los Angeles and Miami.
I have an update. Aaron Rodgers' X-rays were negative on his ankle, but he is not going to return.
Okay. Well, Buffalo is taking it to them right now, 13-3. So we'll see if
breaking news.
We'll see if Mr. Wilson. That's right. That's us covering stuff. We'll see if Wilson can lead this comeback. But yeah, Miami take care of business in an absolute shootout. I guess we should start buying into the Tua train.
I mean, I've never been against it. I think
466 yards. Jeez. Tyreek Hill with 215 yards.
Like we said, this one was a toss-up. Could have gone either way. This could be a future playoff matchup this year.
Dude, this was wild. 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. Can anyone cover Tyreek Hill? Is that not a thing, or? I mean, I'm not saying I could do it, or I know anybody who could do it. I'm just asking questions out here. I mean, it seems like they're paying millions of dollars for anyone who can sort of try. Yeah, not much to say there. I mean, Justin Herbert looks like he tried to keep up with Tua, but Tua just was a monster day. The kid, he's good when he's good, huh?
Sure.
The Philadelphia Eagles win against New England. No one was surprised by this, but I think I was a little surprised by the score. New England actually kept this pretty close.
Yeah, no, I was surprised by the score myself. I mean,
wow, big day out of Mac Jones, actually.
It was 16-7 for a while, honestly, it was 16-0 early on. The Eagles dumped out early. But then, New England doing New England things. By halftime, they pulled within 2, and then the second half was just, quite frankly, Eagles knocked out a couple field goals. And then, the Patriots got a touchdown at the very end to pull within 5. But the way the game started, I figured it was just going to be a little more of a gap. But, Bill Belichick does what Bill Belichick does, and he somehow keeps his teams in the game.
Mac Jones had a great day. 316 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's a good day, man.
So, yeah, no, definitely a good game. He's going to keep that team competitive for him, for sure.
LA absolutely takes it to Seattle. This messed up my picks for sure. Matthew Stafford's like, what? Whatever, I don't even know these guys' names. I'm just going to fucking chuck on the ball, motherfuckers. 334 yards.
Yeah, Matt Stafford might be back.
Looks like their running backs had a nice day. Who's this guy? Carryon Williams with two touchdowns. Not bad, not bad. What happened with Geno? Not much out of Geno.
Might be coming down to earth.
So it's also Geno also might be back, huh? Is that what we're saying? Matthew Stafford might be back and Geno might be back? Is that what we're saying? I'm not about to discount Geno because I do want him to still return my letters for now, or write me back, So I'm not gonna stop writing him. Or whatever.
Yeah, no. I mean, this might be the last ride for the Rams core, so might as well ball out while you can.
Absolutely. Well, strong game for them to start off. Hopping into one more absolute blowout. Dallas Cowboys decided to just destroy the Giants. I don't know if the Giants got confused, maybe missed the bus to the game, or what exactly happened here. But they got a field goal kick.
It's not golf.
They got a field goal blocked. They got multiple interceptions. The boys look completely lost out there, Dan. Tough
start. My favorite comment you had in our group chat was, can the offense at least score points?
Yeah.
Because I swear their defense was doing everything.
Dude, it was ridiculous. They were all over Daniel Jones. Real rough day for the lad. Yeah, not much else to say about that. Strong performance for the Cowboys. They didn't have to do much and roll to 1-0.
Yeah, Daniel Jones got sacked 7 times. You're not going to get anything started with that.
No.
I mean, it's just.
Yeah. No,
None
I
of
also
us bought
said,
into. None of us were buying into Danny Dimes anyway. So.
yeah, and we still are holding on our buys. Him and Tooney, we're still not convinced. But anyway, maybe they'll prove us wrong because it's a long season, Dan. Big day coming up for the Rockford Ravens as we travel to the Riot. There's a whole bunch of other teams traveling to other places and playing other games, but that's the one that really matters to the people by Sports by Compian. We know this. Furthermore, Pick'em League. More picks coming to you soon. You'll be scheduled in the next couple of days. I don't know how this whole releasing thing works, but stay tuned. It's coming out soon. Sports by Compian, we're pretty on point with our picks so far. I bet we have a very positive record if we put all of our records together. So there you go, guys.
The afternoon slate did not do well.
I think I did okay. I think I ended up positive, especially if Buffalo pulls us off tonight. I think I'm going to be like 10-7 or something. It's not terrible. It's hard to know week one, dude. It's so hard.
Oh yeah, we got a while to go.
Anyway, Sports by Compian fans, make sure you're subscribing and liking. Daniel puts a lot of work into this show, and it'd be very rude if he didn't, get the recognition for that. So share it with your friends. Sports by Compian, out!